We're going to break this down into two steps: project retirement assets and scenario analysis. We want to start by taking an inventory of the assets that are available to fund our retirement objectives. Examples of retirement assets include your registered accounts, such as your RRSP, RIF, LIRA LIF, TFSA, IPP, as well as any non-registered accounts that you may hold personally or inside of a corporation. You want to consider more than just the type of account and the current value, and should make note of how the accounts are set up. For example, if it's a registered account, who have you named as the beneficiary or the successor holder? Are the accounts fully liquid, or is a portion locked into an investment, such as a GIC? Are there any plans for future contributions to any of the accounts? If you're still working, you'd include any regular contributions that you're making. Or maybe you're retired, but you're expecting to receive a lump sum amount in the future from an inheritance, or perhaps plans to downsize. So let's take a look at the sample's retirement assets. Both John and Mary have an RRSP, Mary has a LIRA, and both John and Mary have a TFSA. In terms of their future plans, they don't expect to have any additional savings before retirement, but they are planning to downsize at age 75, and estimate around 25% of the home proceeds will be available for reinvestment. So we're going to assume that they first maximize their TFSA room. And while they're only able to contribute a combined $140,000 now, they will have accumulated significantly more room by their age 75. If they don't have room for the full amount, the balance can be invested into an open account. Okay, so let's take a look and see if the sample's retirement assets can generate enough cash flow to fill their retirement income gap. Here we have their combined RIF payments in blue, and Mary's LIF payments in red. And payments from both of these accounts are fully taxable, but the amounts we see on the chart here are after tax. And then finally we have the TFSA withdrawals, which are of course tax-free. Now behind the scenes, there's a lot of analysis that's done to determine how much to withdraw from each account each year. And while we're not covering that process today, I do want to make note of it, as an efficient retirement income drawdown strategy can result in significantly higher after-tax cash flow. So not only does it reduce total income and tax and clawback of government benefits, it reduces the impact of the ups and downs of the stock market. And we'll talk more about that in part 3. So here we can see these samples investment account balances and how they would change based on the cash flow projection in the last slide. We see the impact of downsizing at age 75. And this amount, about $446,000, represents 25% of what the home is projected to be worth at their age 75. At the end of the projection, the sample is age 98. There are still retirement assets remaining, but they're close to depletion. The remaining balance, around $160,000, is somewhat deceiving. If we adjust for inflation and consider the remaining value in today's dollars, it's only around $75,000. Scenario analysis is a more in-depth and focused assessment of your situation, and it's very much driven by the results of the base projection. So if there's a shortfall, we want to look at adjustments that can be made to meet the goal. If we're still working, we may want to look at increasing the amount we save or delaying retirement. If we're retired, we could look at tapping into the equity in our home, for example. Now, if there's a surplus, which is the case for the samples, we want to analyze alternative scenarios. This often involves taking a closer look at various retirement plans and how flexible they are. For our case, we're going to look at the impact of Mary deciding not to work part-time, as well as what would happen if the samples decide not to downsize. Mary plans to work part-time for the first 3 years of retirement because she's enjoying her work. I've analyzed if this is truly a lifestyle decision or a requirement for the samples in order to achieve their retirement spending goals. The results of the analysis are a retirement income shortfall at age 92. For the samples, the first priority is funding their core lifestyle needs throughout the full duration of their retirement. And so if Mary doesn't work part-time, the samples need to cut back on some of their additional spending. So we're going to look at their spending goals by order of priority. So spending to achieve their desired lifestyle, this is still achievable and no cutbacks are needed. The goal to travel for the first 5 years of retirement, the samples will need to dial this back and they can only afford the extra 2 years of travel. And gifts to their grandchildren, unfortunately this is not achievable and the grandkids may be looking for a summer job when the time comes. The samples' plans to downsize are also based on their desired lifestyle. So we can do some analysis again to see if this is truly a lifestyle choice or if the samples are needing to downsize in order to achieve their retirement spending goals. So let's take a look at how their retirement projection would change if they remain in their current home. So this changes their retirement plan significantly. Without the inflow of cash from downsizing, they're projected to fully deplete their retirement assets at age 82. Keeping with the scenario the samples don't downsize, we want to again review their spending goals in order of priority. So spending to achieve their desired lifestyle, the samples will need to dial this back. So the decrease would be around $4,000 a year. So because we're looking at this in order of priority and the desired retirement lifestyle is not fully achievable, we know that their additional spending goals for travel as well as gifts to the grandkids will also not be achievable. The samples could also explore options for tapping into the equity in their home, which we're not looking at, but that would be an alternative to downsizing.